Hello and welcome to the Crooked Letter Sports Podcast, the show about Mississippi sports and the folks who play them. I'm Tyler Cleveland. I'm joined as always by Rick Cleveland, Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame columnist and Mississippi Today scribe. And you have tuned in to the 2024 Egg Bowl edition of the show. Of course, we got the big game this weekend, Dad, the Egg Bowl. But I'm going to start this show like we always do. Did you have a good weekend last weekend?
Golly, I can't even remember last weekend, Tyler.
Yeah, you do. We watched, we ate ribs and
watched a forgettable football game. Hey, the ribs were good, though.
The ribs were delicious, but Ole Miss did not come out as fresh in a 24-17 loss to Florida down in Gainesville. Essentially knocked the Rebels out of the college football playoff picture. They fell to 8-3 with one game left to play in the Egg Bowl. Dad, it was a frustrating. We're not going to spend too much time on it because we want to talk about the Egg Bowl today, but I feel remiss if I didn't say it felt a lot like their first two losses in that I thought they were the better team and they just didn't. I mean, they outgained Florida by 120 yards. They had three turnovers, but two of them came real late, when they were in desperation mode.
Yeah, Tyler, your grandfather had a way of describing what Ole Miss did in its three losses this year. And he had two ways to describe it. One was he'd say they just didn't take care of business. And the other he would say, which was much more descriptive, is that they fiddle-farted around.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of fiddle-farting Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. Is like Ole Miss seems to be in contention for something almost every year under Lane Kiffin late in the year. I mean, they get to a point where it's like they've got one big game that they need to win or, and they end up doing this. And I don't know what it is. I mean, the hype train is always off the rails because the teams are so talented, but they tend to lose one game that they shouldn't. And this year it was three. Yeah.
Saturday's game against Florida, and again, we don't want to.
Yeah, we are belaboring the point.
Belaboring the point. I tell you what, if Ole Miss doesn't lose Trey Harris in the second quarter, they win the game.
I think if they run the football a little bit more, they win the game. But
they definitely could have said that about the LSU game. But at any rate, they didn't get it done, and now I keep hearing some Ole Miss pals of mine say, "Well, we still got a shot."
I mean, they need pretty much to, they need to draw a straight on the, well, they've traded in all five cards and they need
have
to
a couple plane wrecks, I mean, really,
there's lots of, it's going to be really tough on the committee. If you look at the teams that have 1 and 2 losses, there's a lot of them. There's a lot right there on the periphery with 3, but I think the teams that have 3 losses already or could potentially have 3 by the end of the year, even if they lose the game to get their third loss, their resume is still going to be better on paper. And Ole Miss they have 1 loss to Kentucky. And I think Kentucky's got a winning record by now, but they're all like 6, besides LSU.
3 unranked teams.
Right, 3 unranked teams, right. That's the best way to say it. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I don't know that they have as good as the win over Georgia is on the resume, I just don't think that's going to be.
Well, the win over Georgia and the win over South Carolina are both big-time quality wins. Mm-hmm. But 3 losses to unranked teams is not going to get you in the playoff.
No. But they still got a lot to play for here. I mean, they can get to 9-3 with a win this week in the Egg Bowl, of course. And the Rebels lead that series 65-46 and 6 now, with several vacations on both sides in the series. Ole Miss won 17-7 last year. This year, I believe they are a 26-point favorite over Mississippi State. We've seen this set up before. I don't care what the records are. I expect it to be a fairly close game. I don't know that I would take. I don't know if I'd lay the 26 with Ole Miss.
I think the spread is about where it probably should be. I mean, Ole Miss is clearly the better team. Clearly the better team. And despite what the old saying is that on any given Saturday in this rivalry,
yeah, that's not necessarily
you
true.
can throw it's not true. The better team almost always wins.
Right. But it's almost always closer than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Almost. Sometimes not, as we're going to talk about here in a minute. Well, I think you're right. But I would ask you this. Do you give State any chance in this game this weekend?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're playing football. I mean, if Ole Miss goes out and they're just not even, they don't have their minds on their business and they turn it over 5 or 6 times and State gets a couple big plays in the kicking game, it could happen. But, I mean, it would be the most shocking result in Egg Bowl history if State wins, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's a long history.
It's a long history, but, I mean, as I say, most times when there's clearly a better team, that team usually wins.
Can you think of a year where that was not the case?
I can't think of a year where a 26-point underdog won the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would think that had happened at some point in 120 years or wherever we are in this.
Well, I can't speak to anything before about 1960 other than from reading the history of it, but
Right.
but I can tell you that since I've been aware, a 26-point underdog has not won this game. Of course, there's not been many times that there's been a 26-point underdog.
Right. I mean, the series has been so
even
between two evenly matched programs. I mean, I know you wrote a column in Mississippi Today this week recapping some of your favorite Egg Bowl moments.
I haven't written it yet. I got to write it this afternoon. But that's what I'm writing about, yeah.
Well, tell me, I know you've probably identified some of the games. Tell me some of your most memorable ones.
Anybody who was at the 1983 game at Veterans Memorial Stadium would tell you, I think that's their most memorable one. Artie Cosby lined up for a chip shot field goal that would have won it for Mississippi State. He hit it perfectly. A straight line wind that they said was 70 miles an hour blew the ball backwards, and instead of State winning, Ole Miss won.
Yeah, the hand of God, right?
It was called by many the immaculate deflection.
What about? Do you have any that are more recent, or most of yours like from that 80s, 90s period? I mean, that was such a good period in the series. Well,
for me personally, the 2007 Egg Bowl, which was Ed Orgeron's last game at Ole Miss, was incredibly memorable because the day before the game, I had written a column that said that it was time for Ole Miss to cut bait, that it clearly wasn't working. In his third season, it was clear that Ed Orgeron wasn't getting the job done. And then they go out and they're leading 14-0 in the fourth quarter. 4th and 1 at midfield. State had gotten 4 first downs the whole game, and he goes for 4th and 1. Gives the ball to Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, which everybody in the stadium knew they were going to do.
He had a big game. He had a big year.
He'd had a great year, but when everybody knows you're fixing to do something and you do it.
And you don't have a Pegues on your roster.
Anyway, everybody knows what happens. It was 14-0 Ole Miss, and then that gives State the boost to go on to a 17-14 win, and the next day Orgeron was fired.
Yeah. Changed the trajectory for both of those programs at the time and got Orgeron out of Oxford, which was a dark time despite Patrick Willis. Dad, so all of mine that I made a quick list this morning, all of mine are since 1997 because that's when I was 10 and can remember. But I remember 1997 vividly. I was 11 years old but that was the year they had the fight before the game. And Ole Miss scored the game, or what would have been a game-tying touchdown in the final minute and went for 2 with Stuart Patridge. On retrospect, on replay, I don't think they converted the 2. He kind of trapped the ball. The receiver trapped the ball in the 2-point conversion, but they gave it to him anyway. And I remember that one. That was kind of my baptism into, because I was young enough to where I understood the gravity of it, and it was just, ever since then it was really good. I mean, the 3 years later was that Wayne Madkin flu game where State came out in the first half and was so good, and they were winning in Oxford, and he couldn't come out in the second half, and I think Deuce McAllister actually threw the go-ahead touchdown to Romero Miller, and Ole Miss ended up winning 45-30. That was a good one. I'm trying to think. I mean, we were together at so many like that. I guess that was in the 2013 game that me and you were in Starkville, and Bo Wallace. I think Ole Miss State kicked the field goal late to force OT, and then scored the touchdown. Ole Miss was going into tie, and Bo Wallace fumbles at like the 1 yard line
into the end zone.
Game over.
Jamerson Love recovered the fumble.
Oh, I see. It was on your list as well.
Yes.
So I'm sure you remembered that name off the top of your head, as I did. And then 2019 was, I think, is the game that most fans, when you talk to people from outside of Mississippi, when they talk about how crazy the Egg Bowl is, it's that 2019 game they're thinking about with Elijah Moore. And
piss and miss.
The piss and miss. I think that's what people are thinking of when they think Egg Bowl craziness. Of course, State won 21-20 after Ole Miss missed the extra point after the 15-yard penalty because Elijah Moore hiked his leg like a bulldog in the end zone.
Tyler, the one thing when I was doing preparation for this and going back over some of the things I've written through the years about Egg Bowls, the thing that really struck home to me is how many times the losing coach of this game has lost his job. Yeah. Where if he had won the game, he might have kept it. Now, that's not going to happen this year.
No, we've got two that, for very different reasons, are entrenched. The only way one of these two coaches won't be back next year is if
they take another
the guy in Oxford takes another job. I mean, I really think, I think it's a good measuring stick game. I mean, but I'm sure Mississippi State is tired of measuring stick games at this point.
Yeah. Back to that 2019 game, if Ole Miss wins that game, I think Matt Luke would have kept his job.
Probably.
No, I don't think there's much doubt. Hell, that 2007 game, if Orgeron had won that game, he was keeping his job.
Mm-hmm.
Despite being last in every statistical category in the SEC and not winning a conference game in his third year.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember the recruiting classes were piling up. The guy couldn't coach. I mean, I say he couldn't coach in game. He struggled at times with decision making in key situations.
He would have done better flipping a coin.
But he recruited his tail off, and I think you remember that the Houston Nut first year back. I mean, the way they beat State 45-0.
Well, I mean, yeah, I wrote in that year sometime, and it may have been my Egg Bowl column, that this was the best of all worlds for Ole Miss, that you had Houston Nutt coaching Ed Orgeron's recruits. Because Nutt, for all his failings in subsequent years at Ole Miss, I mean, he had won a whole lot of football games.
Yeah.
At Arkansas. I mean, the guy, as the old saying goes, he didn't ride into town on a turnip truck.
That's right.
He knew what he was doing.
That's right. My other memorable ones, Dad, before we move on, I had the 2022 game. Mississippi State stopped the 2-point conversion to beat Ole Miss 24-22 and give Mike Leach his last win. I remember that game. I mean, Ole Miss scored, I think it was 125 left or something. It was going to they had a chance.
Yeah, that was a great drive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they went 99 yards.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good Ole Miss team.
I know. It was a good game, and typical of Mike Leach. Like, Mississippi State might not have been as talented, but they were in it late and they found a way.
They sure did. But that's one of those few times I think that the better team did not win the game.
Give me some more. I know there was a bunch of great games before you or I were going to them.
Well, I think one of the most interesting things to me about the whole series, I'm a history nut anyway. I love history, but the very first game, 1901, to set the stage, both teams had been playing football for 7 years before that, but they couldn't even agree to play each other. And then they finally set up the game, and it's delayed for 45 minutes because Ole Miss said that State was playing illegal players that weren't students, including one who had played for Ole Miss the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't even finish the game because it got dark and there were no lights. So State won the first game 17-0, but they'd only played about 2.5 quarters.
Yeah, but didn't you hear they were playing illegal players?
Yeah.
This is, by the way, not one of the vacated wins I was previously mentioning.
Yeah. Well, there was no SEC then to decide to vacate, or NCAA to decide to vacate the game. But that's one, and another one that I think would have to be on the list of the 5 most important Egg Bowls of all time was in 1941, right before we entered World War II. It was the only time the two teams have ever played when the winner was going to win the Southeastern Conference. It was an Egg Bowl with the SEC championship at stake.
Wow.
And State won the game 6-0. Believe it or not, there was controversy.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, Ole Miss thought they had scored the touchdown to tie the game, and if they kicked the extra point, they'd win. And an official ruled that the Ole Miss guy who had scored stepped out of bounds. Ole Miss claimed he didn't. I remember before Governor Winter died, talking to him about that game, and he remembered virtually every play. He remembered the weather. He remembered everything. And I said, Governor, how do you remember all that? He said, he always called me Ricky. He said, well, Ricky, you got to understand it was the most important thing in my life at the time.
That's funny.
Well, I'd give anything if I had a videotape of that conversation of him talking about all the games. And he had been, he was the sports editor of the Mississippian at the time, the Ole Miss school newspaper.
The DM.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't the Daily then. It was just the Mississippian.
Just the Mississippian.
Yeah. Actually, he was the editor, but he loved to cover the football games.
Well, when you're the editor, you can do what you want. Everybody knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
So give me your prediction for this rendition this year, and then kind of lay out our menu for Thursday.
Oh, I think Ole Miss wins easy. I do. I mean, I think it may be State might hang around for a while, but just Ole Miss has so many more players. They got playmakers, even without Trey Harris, which I guess they'll be without.
Probably so, and what a shame. I mean, it just came in and they threw it his way twice. He scores a touchdown on a 43-yard pass, and then the second one would have been an outrageously good catch had he not gotten hurt in the process and dropped the ball. I mean, that dude, if he gets back healthy, like overall in his career, is going to be a stud in the NFL.
Oh yeah, he's an amazing player, and
better than any wide receiver Florida has.
Let's face it, Ole Miss has got a lot of guys. I mean, number 2.
I know. We talk about it every week. Nolan and then the Princely on the outside.
But Saturday at Gainesville,
he was dominant.
Nolan, they could not block him.
I know. It's fun to watch. It reminds you of guys like Jeffrey Simmons.
He reminds me of a guy that you would have no way of remembering who played at Southern Miss named Gerald Bayless.
Yeah.
Who nobody could block. He was unblockable. But Nolan, he's one of the best defensive linemen we've ever had here in Mississippi. Period.
And that's saying something, man, because those dudes, State has had a slew of those guys.
Of them.
Yeah.
But they don't have anybody like him this year, and they don't have any, there's a lot of positions where they don't have anybody as good as Ole Miss has.
Right. Well, I'm more interested in the fair for Thursday. Do you care? But before we move on, do you care if the game's on Thanksgiving or not? I mean, I
prefer not to be.
You do?
Yeah.
I kind of like the national spotlight on a holiday when nobody's doing anything. Although I guess you still get that kind of Friday. I mean, who works on Friday after Thanksgiving? I don't know.
Well,
Sports writers,
so many of our Thanksgivings through the year were
in Oxford or Starkville.
We didn't have one
right.
in Jackson because I was always, and a lot of times you went with me to the games. But
we usually found somewhere to eat a meal.
Yeah, the press box.
Oh man! So we're going traditional this year. We got turkey. What about dressing?
We're gonna have oyster dressing.
Perfect.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a bunch of casseroles. I'm making my turkey brine today to brine the turkey.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Rick is the chef in the family. Still to this day, cooks most of our big meals. Of course, now my sister Annie she's into it now, into cooking.
She's going to do the casseroles.
There you go.
Yeah. But I know everybody in the family, meaning you, did not want traditional. So on days besides Thanksgiving this weekend, we're going to have some other really good stuff.
I'm all about it. I love when Annie comes into town. Everybody cooks. It's fantastic. Rick and I, speaking on his behalf, really hope that all of the listeners of the show get to have some fun this week and gather with family, avoid politics, and watch some good football. I think that's the most important thing, right?
By all means, avoid politics.
Oh, you got any advice for anybody who can't? Anybody stuck?
Who can't what?
Who can't avoid the politics?
Avoid the politics.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Some sage advice from Rick. Do what you can't do. Dad, I don't know what else is going on. I know the Saints are playing this weekend. They got a winnable game against the LA Rams, but it's on the road. I guess they're just going to win their way back to 6-7 wins, maybe 8 if they get really hot down the stretch here. It's kind of that same old.
Win their way back to the 13th or 14th pick of the first round. Yeah. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
Yeah, well, damn it. All right, everybody, that's all the time we got this week. Thanks for tuning in. Y'all have a great holiday weekend, and we'll see you on the other side.